But let me take you through right now, step by step, what you can do to be a great buyer's agent. Number one, every buyer, this is a great rule to follow, every buyer has to be qualified by a lender if there is any kind of financing involved. No exceptions, meaning you're not showing them any homes, you're not setting them up any searches, you're not putting a whole ton of time into it until you've confirmed that they're qualified by our in-house lender. Why waste your time talking with the buyer, number one? Number two, most of them don't know what they can or can't afford. So it makes sense that you have a conversation with the buyer about their financing, what their payment goal is, what their price point is. If they don't have answers to those questions, if they don't know what they can afford, then it's important that you get them in touch with a lender. Number two, you have to, just like sellers, pre-qualify them in terms of their motivation and the kind of home they want to buy. Just like sellers, we have to ask a series of questions to find out where they're going, why they're going there, what takes them there, how soon do they have to be there. We want to know the answers to all of those questions before we start to work with them to determine whether it's a buyer that fits our criteria. Next, we need to identify what differentiates you from the competition and be prepared to share this with the buyer. We call this the JGA Buyer Consultation, which I'll walk you through in the next video. From start to finish, exactly why a buyer should choose us versus our competitors. Number four, the four types of buyers that you should be working with on a regular basis are past clients and centers of influence who are highly motivated. We've already discussed past clients and centers of influence. You know who those are. You work with the ones that are highly motivated. Next, your sellers who priced right and need to sell. You've got a seller, you've got a great relationship with them, they need to sell their home, they want to go out and look at homes before their home's sold. You know it's going to get them excited because that's why they're selling, so they can buy, so you take them out and show them homes. Highly qualified, highly motivated buyers referred by your past clients and center of influence. So you've got your past clients and center of influence that want to work with you. You've got sellers that want to work with you, and then folks that your past clients and center of influence refer to you. Remember, you are the expert. They are trusting you with their friends and family. Those are great buyers to work with. Finally, number four, the buyer leads that are signed by the company. We do an awful lot of advertising lead generation to find high quality leads who are ready to buy now or next week or in 30 days. Those are the four types of buyers you want to work with. Next, when showing homes, only show properties when all decision makers are present. Call to confirm that they'll be there before you take further action. Many times you'll find that only one is available to go view homes. Well, what's the point of one going and seeing the home if they hate it and the other one's going to love it? Or vice versa. It never makes sense to show one party. Make sure all parties are there. Next, have the buyers meet you at the office, meet you at a nearby Jeff Glover & Associates office, or meet you at a Starbucks, or better yet, meet them at their house. With a buyer, they need to be educated on the process of what we're going to walk through, what things are going to look like, what they can expect for the money that they're going to spend, what the process is going to look like, whether you're going to use one of our showing agents or not. They need to know exactly what's going to take place from start to finish. And you have to do that before going out and showing homes. See, what do most agents do? They take them out, they meet them for the first time, they meet them at a listing. They have no idea what they're looking for, they have no idea how qualified they are, they have no idea whether they can help them or not. You use the JGA Buyer Consultation in person at our office or one of our offices or at their home or a Starbucks, you're going to be much further ahead with that buyer when you actually go out to work with them. And it's going to be helpful in getting their offer accepted when they go to write an offer. Think of it like this. You don't do the buyer consultation, you're working with the buyer, you're showing them homes. They see a property that they love. They have to have it. It's listed at $399,900. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what would you like to offer? Well, we were thinking of offering $350,000. Well, why would they say $350,000 if in the buyer consultation you're sharing with them that you'll educate them on the market and you'll make the recommendation? Or worse, you don't tell them that, you make the recommendation, and then they don't believe you. Or they don't trust you because they weren't expecting that. They were expecting because their parents told them to get it for 90% of market value. Well, if we knew that they were thinking that they were going to make an offer at 90% of market value and the market's hot and we can't justify that price, how much more difficult is it going to make your job in getting their offer accepted? See, things like that will happen if you don't do a buyer consultation, if you don't set the expectation up front. So make sure you're getting them into one of our offices, meeting them at their house, or meeting them at a local Starbucks or a coffee shop. Well, why would I meet them at their house if they're not going to be, if they're going to be buying a home? Well, we know that 30% of buyers have homes to sell. So if you knew that every 1 in 3 or every 1 in 4 buyers or every 1 in 5 buyers that you're going and meeting with, you're meeting them at their house, what better way to bring up the conversation? By the way, will you need to sell this home? Oh yeah, what do you think we should do first? Should we sell first and then buy? Most buyers don't even know the answer to that question. A lender will be able to answer that question for them. But if they need to sell, guess what they need to know next? What can we get for our home? Well, you can start that conversation and have that conversation when you're with them face to face in their home. You can't do it if you're meeting them out at some other property. So rule of thumb is either at the office or at their home. And if they come to the office first, guess what? Your follow-up appointment is at their home. So you can give them a market analysis if they're going to need to sell their home. When you're out showing properties, only show 3 homes at a time. Showing 6 or 7 homes is not going to save you in that time. It's going to confuse the heck out of them. 3 or 4 at the most. By the time they get to the 4th or 5th showing, they're going to forget what house number 1 looked like. They're going to forget what they're even looking at. 3 or 4 showings at a time. Most of our buyers, we use this script all the time, most of our buyers select a home within 2 to 3 weeks. So if you think about it, you're showing them 3 to 4 homes, and you're doing that once a week, maybe twice a week. By 10, 11 showings, they'll know exactly what they want. And oh, by the way, after 10 or 11 showings, the value and the quality of the homes that you show them starts to diminish. Why is that? Well, that's because Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'm only going to show you the best homes first. I'm going to show you the best values, the homes that will sell the fastest, the homes that everyone else wants. I'm going to get you into those first. And if we can't find something in one of those homes, then I'll show you the rest. Well, what tends to happen is they look at 3 or 4 or 5 homes and they decide they really like house number 2. But they want to continue looking at homes because someone said you have to look at 50 homes before you buy. So the buyer goes out with you despite your advice and they want to look at more homes, and they realize that you really did show them the best homes first. And the rest of the stuff that they're looking at is the stuff that nobody else wants. And by the time they tell you that, you know what, you were right, let's go back and make an offer on one of these, those are gone. Because you're only going to show them the best homes first. That exercise I just took you through is the exact same conversation that you need to have with buyers when you're in the buyer consultation. So they know that you're showing them the best values first, and the best values sell the fastest. And they're not going to be around for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. Next point. Critical point. As you show a buyer more properties over the course of days and weeks, their confidence in you diminishes. Regardless of whether it's your fault or not, regardless of how picky they are, regardless of how many homes you've shown them, as time goes on, their confidence in you goes from here on the first day they meet you for a buyer consultation to here. And they believe that it's your fault that they're not finding a home, even when it may not be your fault. Because it's your job to understand what they're looking for and to show them the best values. It happens to all of us from time to time. We're working with a buyer, usually it's around the 4-week mark. We've had them out 3, 4 times, once or twice a week for 3 or 4 weeks. Can't find anything they want. And maybe they've even put an offer in and it got declined, and that happens sometimes. Well, what do? You have an updated buyer consultation. You call and tell them, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I've got something to share with you about the offer we just submitted. Are you available later this afternoon or this evening? If you're on the brink of losing that buyer and you're 3, 4, 5 weeks in with them and you know their confidence is diminishing over time, which it doesn't matter how good you are, you never deliver bad information over the phone. You get in front of them and say, I've got some information to share with you about this offer. You sit down in front of them, you have an updated buyer consultation. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, good news and bad. Which one do you want first? What's the bad news? Well, the bad news is your offer didn't get accepted. The good news is I found another home that just came on the market that's better than that one. Do you think they'll really fire you or let you go or stop working with you if you have good news to share and you just had a conversation with them about how you're going to get them a better value? Of course they won't. But if you've been working with a buyer for 3, 4, 5 weeks and you call them and deliver that kind of news, you better believe they're going to start looking at other options. They're going to start doing their own research. They're going to start reaching out to agents on their own. They're going to start visiting open houses. When they start doing work on their own, you've lost them. So you do an updated buyer consultation every 30 days if you haven't sold them a home in the first 30 days. You meet them at their house, you meet them at a coffee shop, you meet them at one of our offices. And you say, hey, guys, this isn't working. We've seen 27 properties and none of them have worked out. What are we doing wrong here? It's okay to admit defeat. They'll appreciate that. Well, Jeff, all the homes that you've shown us need a lot of work, and we've decided that we don't want to look at any homes unless it's move-in ready. Great. So now, instead of showing them another 27 homes, I can go in and pick through the ones that came on the market, go through the photos, and determine which ones are move-in ready. And I'm only going to show them then. Well, at that point, they've already been through enough to know what they want. We've fixed their criteria. We're going to get them back out, and they're going to pick one of those 3 or 4 or 5 homes. So I'm having an updated buyer consultation every 30 days if they haven't bought yet. Next, I'm going to take you through the JGA buyer consultation. So you'll see from start to finish what it looks like when you have a buyer in their home or in the office.